weeks of sunshine and swimming and relaxation and, of course, work, it's time to return to London. I'm not a fan of air travel these days and tend to avoid it, but the airport now is fantastic and even the food was quite delicious on flights. Roast chicken with stuffing on a plane, amazing. And I've got to say the airport itself was really luxurious in Marrakesh. All in all, a rather enjoyable journey. I'm sure you can understand why I like to spend some months of each year in the sunshine swimming. London I adore, but it can be rather grey and dreary, as indeed it is now. But still, there's a lot going on in Great Britain. It's a country I love. It's a city I love. I've lived in for 60 years, and I cherish it with a great place in my heart, day and night. Back in Britain, and of course there is huge publicity about the awful Brianna Ghey case where the young girl or transgender boy was murdered by 2 other children. And a lot of talk about it. And it raises 2 topics that I think are worth examining. The first one is Mary Whitehouse. Now, you probably won't remember Mary Whitehouse. She was a campaigner against filth on the media. But by filth on the media, she also meant things that influenced people in damaging ways. Funnily enough, she and I got on terribly well, although she described me as the most dangerous man in Britain because she said I was so likeable and charming and yet completely off the beam as far as the power of the media was concerned. And I disagreed with her completely on censorship and controlling the way the media looked at things. And I felt there should be a completely free rein and people were capable of making up their own minds on certain issues. Well, she passed away. I always liked her enormously and she liked me enormously, even though we disagreed on everything. But looking back now, I think she was very, very right in many ways. Her name became almost a joke amongst us young people because she stood for puritanshiip and censorship and so on. But of course, the media has deteriorated unbelievably. No responsibility at all, especially now there is the social media, things like the dark web, which I don't really know what it is, let alone have any ability to get onto it. But all these different areas mean that all kinds of influences can come in. And I bet you those 2 children who killed that poor girl would never have even thought of it had it not been for going on social media, going on the dark web, seeing all these videos, hearing all this philosophy about what fun it is to murder someone and all that kind of shit, and actually have created this alternative world with their silly little minds. And we know all teenagers have got silly little minds because they haven't had time to assimilate stuff and think deeply. We also know that the media generally does not encourage depth of thought on any matter at all. Its slogans, preferably 3-word slogans, is all that matters. So I have to say, all these years later, Mary Whitehouse, I apologise. You had a very good point. I'm afraid Mary Whitehouse would not have approved at all of my lyric, but I think it's rather good. In the Great Reset movie, it's tribute to great leaders.
And now, a lovely new song from our favourite contestant. And I do mean that most sincerely, folks, with their special message to great and past idols. Here are the Space Girls with their tribute to great leaders!
President Kennedy licked my clit, and you know I have to admit I really rather enjoyed it. Comrade Stalin called me darling, and not wishing to appear alarming, I thought him rather charming. Ayatollah Khomeini came on me in Paris when he was younger, and to be honest, it appeased my hunger. Osama bin Laden got a huge hard-on, like many Muslims do. Wasn't gonna wait for all them virgins to start emerging 2 by 2. Prime Minister Edward Heath fucked my son. He was extremely partial to the sight of a sailor's bum. My man blue President Charles de Gaulle, he wasn't shy at all, at all. All of these leaders are bottom feeders. One tough guy in times of stress used to come all over my dress, made one hell of a White House mess, but didn't cause me any distress. There's something about these leaders of men, they choose to do it again and again. Must be something in the water to make them do what they shouldn't order. President Kennedy licked my clit, and you know I have to admit I really rather enjoyed it. Comrade Stalin called me darling, and not wishing to appear alarming, I thought him rather charming. Ayatollah Khomeini came on me in Paris when he was younger, and to be honest, it appeased my hunger. Osama bin Laden got a huge hard-on, like many Muslims do. Wasn't gonna wait for all them virgins to start emerging 2 by 2. Prime Minister Edward Heath fucked my son. He was extremely partial to the sight of a sailor's bum. My man blue President Charles de Gaulle, he wasn't shy at all, at all. All of these leaders are bottom feeders. One tough guy in times of stress used to come all over my dress, made one hell of a White House mess, but didn't cause me any distress. There's something about these leaders of men, they choose to do it again and again. Must be something in the water to make them do what they shouldn't order. There's something about these leaders of men, they choose to do it again and again. Must be something in the water to make them do what they shouldn't order. There's something about these leaders of men, just to do it again and again. Must be something in the water to make them do what they shouldn't order. There's something about these leaders of men, they choose to do it again and again. Must be something in the water to make them do what they shouldn't order.
Wonderful, romantic notes. Gentle ballad by our sweet Space Girls.
One of the sad things about getting old, as I now am in my 80th year, is so many of your friends pass away. And my dear friend Janice Shaed died last month in New York, where she lived. Janice was a great publicist. We became friends back in the 1960s, and she was the main publicist when she worked for Connie DeNave, a big firm, for UK Records and our launch in America with such acts as 10cc, Simon Turner, The Rocky Horror Show and various others. But Janice was also a very dear friend and remained so for all her life. She told me the story once which highly amused me and my friend Michael Subberton. She was over here, Janice, on a visit to London, and we all had dinner. And at the time she was representing the little girl who starred in the Broadway musical of The Wizard of Oz. Can't remember what it was called, Oz or something. And the little girl who played Dorothy, Stephanie someone or other. Anyway, Janice was publicising it and managed to get her a cover on Time magazine or something in an interview that was really of major importance. So she met her and said, right, this is what's happening, and it's all been organised, and they need to do some photos and then the interview. So if it's all right on that particular day, can you please get to the theatre earlier than usual, sort of like 2:00 in the afternoon, so you can spend a couple of hours doing the interview and being photographed? And the girl answered her, I get to the theatre at 6:30. So Janice replied, yes, I understand that, but on this particular occasion, could you make sure you get there early, about 2 or 3? I get to the theatre at 6:30. Yes, no, I know that, but for this particular thing, anyway, she couldn't shake her and eventually just had to organise the whole thing to start at the theatre at 6:30. Michael and I were hysterical with laughter as Janice told us this story. Anyway, rest in peace, my dear Janice Shaed. Another aspect of the awful Brianna Ghey case is transgenderism, and the whole area, which has been very, very controversial about being transgender, considering yourself male or female or whatever. And again, the problem has been this superficialisation, this fact that it's got to be one extreme or the other. You've got to think of yourself as a man or a woman, male or female. They can't go. The reality is everybody is in the middle. In varying different degrees, we all have areas of our characters and our physiques that are essentially male or essentially female. And we're all built up of a little bit of both. Admittedly, the majority of us physically are 99% one way or the other. But even that is sort of within limits. There are men with very, very small genitals, for example, and very large breasts. And there are women who are built like boys, essentially. And so even physically it applies, but much, much more so mentally. We all have male and female characteristics, and some that don't fit either, that split between the two. And that's the problem, that anybody who makes these points, and usually there's lots of minor points in there. Now, I'm a big fan of J.K. Rowling as a writer and everything else. I also totally support her opinions on these matters. And when she says something like, it's not right that men should be allowed to use women's changing rooms and women's toilets, I completely agree with her. I actually think there should now, the world has changed, be a third category of toilets, male, females, and in-betweens, right? Things like this, and for changing rooms, that we need adapting as society grows and matures and understands more and more things. But actually, the Brianna Ghey situation is a very interesting aspect. She made a very beautiful young girl, and her videos are terrific. She looked marvellous. I don't know what her problems were, but I gather he did have all sorts of other problems, self-harming and so on and so forth, eating, anorexia and all that. Well, these are the things that should be examined and looked at and sorted out. Not the what gender are you? It should be, well, where you feel you're right, you must do. Things that you feel wrong, you must not do. But you must be told how certain things are good for you, other things are bad for you. And you should be encouraged to be yourself and be whatever you are. I mean, I'm certainly not 100% male, although looking at me with my rather sexy beard now, you would be mistaken for thinking that. But I've certainly got a lot of female characteristics, and as you know, I'm bisexual. Sexually, my tastes, when I used to have sex, which I don't anymore because I'm too old, but in the good old days, was very much right in the middle. I liked boys who tended to look like girls and girls who tended to look like boys. I was in that middle area that I found people attractive who were in the middle section, not sort of the two extremes in looks as far as the look was concerned, all of which I'm quite sure came from going to boarding school and public school, which was single sex in my day, and therefore having to develop an interest. When you develop sexually an interest and you're interested in girls, there aren't any girls around, but there are lots of boys that almost could be girls, such as Brianna Ghey was. So as a result, it's about time. It's all the same superficiality, simplicity thing that's going on. Satan's current weapon of ultimate mass destruction. We must stop going to extremes. We must start accepting that there are degrees of everything. And that applies equally to what punishment these children have for murdering poor Brianna. Appalling crime. They must be punished. They must, however, be sorted out, straightened out, be helped, be assisted to become decent human beings. The mother of Brianna on television was saying they should be taken away from society, kept away from society. And I'm going, hang on a moment, what the fuck are you talking about? Prisons are a part of society. We can't divorce them, and neither should we.
I look around me and all I can see is innocents murdered or drowning in sea. Why divide up humanity with flags unfurled? We are the victims in this insane world. We all need smacking to get our heads right. We all need slapping every day and every night. Smack us for cruelty, slap us for madness. Bring back decency, bring back kindness. Let's open all borders, let everyone in. We can all live in happiness, share love and win. Of course a few loonies will walk through the doors, but we make our own loonies who break our own laws. The majority of people are most times good. They respect other citizens, behave as they should. Let's welcome them, nurture them, allow them to find all that's best in our countries. Above all, be kind. Religion or sex drive, it's time to begin. Enough of this murder because of a nation, the way we see God or sex orientation. The time has arrived, now humanity rules. Enough of being governed by nationalist fools. I look on to you all as brothers and sisters. Let's turn this whole world into human resistors. Persecuting our species ain't wealthy, can't allow moral looting. I withstand this lunacy, stop it right now. I refuse to become a sacrificial cow. I won't be a bullfight, I want joy and sunlight. Let's stop all this killing and give up this fight. I refuse to bow down to moral insanity. I demand a return to decent humanity. I refuse to bow down to moral insanity. I demand a return to decent humanity.
Ow!
For those of you missing the Victims theme, our new version with Le Beaume. One of the films most predicted to win Oscars that hasn't been nominated at all is All of Us Strangers. I wasn't that keen. It's like a 2024 gay version of The Sixth Sense. And I also went to The King and I, which is one of my favourite ever musicals. The theatre was absolutely packed eventually. It's spectacular, very, very well put on. The two leads are pretty decent. It does include, for me, one of the greatest pop songs of all time, Something Wonderful, but also it's got 5 or 6 other smash mass appeal hit records. But sadly, it doesn't really work in 2024. I can't quite work out why, but it just isn't as good as it was in the 1960s. So one of the reasons I've come back early to London is to organise NOTPO, which stands for Not Only the Post Office. And this is my idea of having a one-off gathering, which is an umbrella of all the groups of people who have suffered through to the broken justice system in the United Kingdom, to get together and do as Alan Bates did with the post office scandal, get things started that was a coordinated attempt to change the way the justice system currently runs wrongly. After all, it took 30 years to sort out the post office scandal. It's been just as long as that for the whole judicial system. In my case, 24 years, and it's still going on. Anyway, that's what I shall try and do, and I'll explain more in future episodes of A Victim Bites Back.